Join discord.gg/flatearth and enter a check-in room. Someone will come along and verify you to get involved in the conversation about our Earth.
Have Glover friends?
Oh, dude, they all got Glover friends. They don't come here on their own.
Here's just a pro tip for you, bro.
I guarantee you I'm here on my own.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. But just a pro tip is like, almost act as if you're presenting a case to a judge and a jury. We would be across the table, like we're, plaintiff and defendant. So you don't have to worry about convincing us, but you need to make a case. So like you were like, well, I posted a video. Okay, that's fine. But what is your case, or what is the argument?
Well,
you know what I'm saying? So you gotta make a case.
I'd like to actually preface that, given why I joined the server was actually to get answers on why people believe there's a flat Earth, not necessarily to prove that I believe in what I believe. It was entirely different in terms of the perspective. I thought it was I could get answers as to why you guys believe what you believe.
Well, let me address that a little bit, because we don't have, we're not here to offer new ideas. We're just talking about the Earth outside. I use this guru in the jungle analogy all the time. Maybe you've heard me reference this, but it's almost like, so you don't walk up to the guru and say, hey, well, tell me what you believe. He's also, even if you were to ask him that, it's not like he would whip out a brochure and say, well, here's what I believe, point A, point B, point C. And what we do here is I think so, like, if you want to get to where a flat earther is, step one is to know what the globe claims are. And step two is testing those claims. So
you start based with a globe claim. So you start based on.
Can I pause you for a second? Who's speaking up now? Is this Bra finally, or who is this?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
but it's not
thank
like
you,
we were born. It's not like we were born this way, brother. I was raised the same way as you, bro.
You start with the preposition that it's a globe, and then you try to debunk the globe.
Well, that's not like. I didn't want to debunk it. I wanted to prove it to be correct. That's what I believed in. So you go and check to see if your worldview holds up.
I guess that's where you and I might differ, is, given all of the experiments with the globe belief, if you want to call it that. I find
you're going to have an issue there.
Hang on. I find that they, personally, I've looked at the evidence that a lot of people have provided, and I find that it confirms that we live on a sphere going through, whatever you want to call it, going through space at so many miles per hour. That's something a lot of people like to talk about. But the point is, all of the evidence that I've seen.
I'm sorry, but what we would have to do, because that's kind of vague. Yeah. So what I would say is, instead of saying, well, all the evidence and all the experiments, you'd have to be very specific and say, well, okay, this is the experiment I saw, and this is the evidence I saw. Right now, you're just kind of painting a broad brush and saying, there's lots of this stuff. Are you so sure?
Yeah. No. Here, I want to point out. I'm going to get to it. You said all of the experiments. Can you cite an experiment, please?
The experiment for what?
You said there was a lot of them, so just could you name one of them?
Well,
my point is that the entirety is.
Yeah, we can't do that.
All of the experiments.
Don't dogpile.
No, please. We can already all recognize that you just made a broad statement with no backup. So, if you say there are tons of experiments or a number of experiments that back up this science that you stand for, please present one.
What he actually said was, all the evidence we showed him indicate a globe. That's what he said.
Well, and that's exactly
it. So which ones did we show you that indicate a globe?
Well, my point is that I could interpret everything that's been shown to exist on. It's the same as, as a lot of people like to claim that, I can't pronounce the name, but Eratosthenes or whatever, the one that pronounced
Eratosthenes?
Eratosthenes, thank you.
You think Eratosthenes proves the globe?
No, my point is that his conclusions could be valid for both a globe and a flat plane. I understand.
Okay, so does that disclude flat Earth?
Does it disclude it?
He just
Yeah.
said no.
No, my point is that it could be valid for both. I understand that.
Right.
But
So
No, but I mean, drawing from his conclusions, would you not have to prove that the sun is close or far?
no. This has to do with look. This has to do with the burden of proof, the axiom that you're starting from, and the evidence that you have available. So
Okay, I understand that, but my point being is that his conclusion would be that it would be a close sun and a flat Earth, or a distant sun and a globe Earth.
right, what you are giving is a benefit of the doubt. You are casting doubt on our evidence.
I'm just drawing.
That's not even our evidence, though. But why are you bringing this up?
I'm extending beyond his conclusions. That's my point.
What he's saying
Well,
is you can interpret our evidence both ways. So I don't think that's correct. That's not correct. So how do
it would
you
have to be?
interpret-
It'd have to be one or the other. That's my point. It can't be both, obviously.
So how do you interpret a laser that goes 25 miles and is picked up 4 feet off the water? That's 2 orders of magnitude different than the globe prediction. How does that fit in the globe?
In a way, that's an entirely different experiment. But the point, I mean, if you want to talk about,
I know you said all the evidence we showed you.
Well,
So
I'm
that's
just
what you
talking about. Okay. I mean, I don't want to get into individual experiment because then I have.
Hey, but that's the whole
Well, no,
point, though.
because
Brother. That's the
Because you're
entire
lacking
point.
in understanding.
Oh, I know.
There. You don't understand. When you say that, you're saying, I don't want to get into specifics. I just want to.
We're deviating from the.
I just want to repeat to you my very strong stance that I live on a globe.
But,
I think,
dude,
what I'm
I
saying
don't-
is we're deviating from the original point. That was what I'm saying. You know,
We're
I'm
not
saying that.
deviating from the original point.
No,
the whole
You
point-
we're
said
talking
all
about-
the evidence that we showed you, all of it, indicated that the Earth was a ball flying through space. That's nonsense. Then I asked you specifically about a specific one, and you're like, I don't want to talk about individual ones. Well, you said all of them.
You brought it up. Yeah. We're only holding
You
to
literally
accountable
did.
for things you said.
That's why I pointed you out. You said you made a very specific point that I called you out on, and you keep doing this. You did it in chat as well. You did it in text, and now I'm bringing you into voice, and you're doing it here in voice. But as soon as we press you, you want to move on to something else. It's an idealism that you want us to agree with you on, not based off of evidence.
I was trying to focus on a main point, like kind of a general point that we can all focus on. That's what I was trying to focus on.
What is the
I
general?
know, but you're doing that. What I played a 20-second clip of that girl saying, "Well,
to generalize, you need a trend, right? You need a statistically significant sample size so you can make general statements about
It's not necessarily a generalization. It's the fact that we can all agree that the original deduction that everyone likes to draw on is the fact that sticks and shadows can be interpreted 2 different ways. I think that's
no,
what
we throw that out.
We agree with that.
Yeah,
Yes,
rigorous
we
at
do
all.
agree
we
with
don't
that.
use Eratosthenes.
No, that's garbage.
Yeah, hold on a
I
second.
can guarantee you I've heard that.
No. Okay, hold on. You could see it like if you come from a worldview where you think you live on a globe, you could interpret it one way. But if you were to test it here on Earth, you would interpret it the way that all of us see.
All of us being who?
Well, why would we use that whole thing's garbage? It's based on assumptions. It's not.
Yeah, that's what I was about to
It's
say.
not necessarily based on-
It's not rigorous at all. It's not even.
Step 1 is assume the Earth is a globe. From there, it's just all a bunch of begging the question.
Yeah, I would
But,
disagree.
brother, you brought up.
Let's not assume that it's a globe. Let's assume that those measurements are. You can make independent observations. My point is that it can be interpreted 2 different ways. That was what I was saying.
Yeah,
Well,
but
that's the issue.
Is interpretation reality?
Yeah, I got
Doesn't
a bunch of different. Sorry, who was responding there?
Doesn't Moonlight give
That
us
was me, lunatic. No. If you are relying on interpretation, and then you're gonna make that as a base stance for the rest of your argument, then you are already flawed. We already use the same data and can apply it to a flat Earth. Now you have to refute that with interpretation. You are in already 2 steps behind our argument. How do you compensate?
Well, I'd have to understand the argument. I was starting from the point of the dual interpretation of effectively the sticks and shadows argument.
Why would you bring that up though? Because your original point was that you've seen lots of evidence and experiments that conclude a globe. So why would you bring up the first experiment being something that's non-conclusive?
I mean, personally, I've seen video of, people actually physically moving objects that are beyond the observable horizon.
Okay, so you're talking about ISS videos where they're like
No.
throwing objects around each other?
The horizon is always, by definition, the horizon is observable, right? It's something that's apparent. So it's either something that's physical or it's an optical phenomenon. So if you want to invoke the horizon, then you'd have to go and prove that it's geometric.
Not necessarily. I mean,
but that's the whole argument. Yes, necessary. That's the entire argument. It's either optical or
if you live on a ball, there needs to be curvature. If we can't find curvature, you have to have a good fucking reason why we can't find it.
He was talking about horizon. I mean, the horizon, the argument is that the horizon is always optical. I completely agree because,
and it's not geometric, and things don't go over.
Meaning that it's a trick of the eyes, meaning that it's not a physical place.
Yeah, because obviously the light you're observing would be.
No, but you just invoked a physical horizon. You said things go over the horizon. So you're talking about a physical bump of Earth.
Even though you see a visual horizon doesn't mean that there's not something that could go beyond that visual. The fact is, you're seeing the light that left that position. Now that position's not infinite. It goes to a certain distance, but it doesn't necessarily.
Well, you got some crazy background noise, dude.
Hey, hold on.
Sorry, I'll mute again.
Is that me or?
But the whole point.
No, I'll just turn the fan way down. The
whole point is though, it's the argument is either it's physical, a geometric location, the curve of the Earth, or it's not. So I mean. To say, well, it's just optical, then you're agreeing with us at that point.
I would say technically it's both. I mean, well, all right. I don't want to say it's technically it's both because there is a physical horizon. But
that's what we'd be asking you to prove. So since you invoked it, then let's prove that. Let's drill into that claim.
The claim would necessarily rest on the fact that photons don't travel in straight lines. Right.
Let me ask you this. No, hold on. Let me ask you this. Are you willing to stand on this stance? If you live on a globe that is spherical in nature, that you would have a limit to your horizon based off of the radius of that ball. Are you willing to stand on that?
Limit to the horizon, of course. That's kind of necessitates the fact. But
so physicality limits your view. Are you willing to say that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Why? Hold on, let's stop right there. Let's stop right there.
No, hang on.
Hold on, friend. No.
I can't clarify.
No. The previous statement was that light travels. Hold on, dude.
What comes with that?
Dude, I didn't mop the floor so you could come and pee on it. But anyway.
No, dude, I'm the one.
I just want to point out.
So go ahead.
All right, great. I just want to point out that you just said that light travels in curved lines, and then you said there's a limit to what you can see because of the horizon. If light travels in curved lines, it would always be going around the horizon. There'd never be a limit.
Well, no, there would.
Your worldview, friend, your worldview is incoherent. You just defeated it with your own words. I yield the floor.
Well, I'm just going to say that, that's the thing you want to make a case for. So, that the horizon is something physical. The first thing you jump to was, there's bending light and stuff. So it's like, that's not proving that the horizon is something that's physical, that boats go over, or even light bends over. So you have to make a case for why the horizon is physical.
Let's say
Well,
it's
we-
the atmosphere itself. That's it. I mean, it would be physical if there was no horizon, if there was nothing to bend the light, which is what does bend the light. Then it would be
No,
physical. Yeah, like I mean, if you go,
you're just saying it has to be there, brother. You have to prove that it's actually there.
Dude, you need to take a sip of cold water, bro.
Well, on top of that, you have to prove that light can bend in such a function. You have two major hurdles to jump over right now.
light definitely bends.
Dude, he did. He might have said this as a slip of the tongue, friends, but he just said the horizon bends the light.
No. I said the medium. I didn't say horizon bends the light. I said
Okay, well, correct
I heard.
yourself.
if there was
No, that is what you said. That might not be what you meant. So go ahead and correct yourself.
My point was, if there was no atmosphere, if there was nothing to bend the light, then the horizon would be it'd be purely physical.
All right, no,
But you're just saying it has to be there.
No, hold on.
Not making
Yeah.
a case.
This if statement, like, so you're talking about in a perfect vacuum without atmosphere, like a situation where, like, we can just base our reality on graphs and mathematics and theories. Is that it?
It's just the simple fact that if there was nothing to bend the light between the emission source and the receiver, there would be no deflection whatsoever.
Right, but to your own agreeance, there is matter there to bend the light.
Yeah, that's the atmosphere. That's what I was talking about.
Right. So why are we talking about if it wasn't there?
Because we were talking about the actual perspective of why the light bends, why it actually you can see further than you normally would, because from the
But you're not actually proving that the horizon is something that's physical. You're just telling us about air and light. Notice how this has nothing to do with the ground.
that was kind of what I was drawing on. Is that
He's
talking
saying
about physical.
he's saying that the atmosphere is the reason why it looks flat. You know, all you gotta do is agree that it looks flat, measures flat.
So
when you use it.
No, but it's just you're running
The
away.
fact that we have an atmosphere, auto level everything to our perspective,
Yes.
to our point of view.
That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying.
No, what I'm saying is that the atmosphere allows light from a further source to bend.
Yeah, but you can't prove that. That's
You're
just
not
the claim.
talking. You're not even talking about the claim anymore. You've moved away from the claim that the horizon or the ground is physically curving. You're not even making a case about that.
The fact that the ground physically curves mean there's things.
That fact has not been established. That's the thing you're supposed to be proving, which you haven't
It's
done.
also contradicted. It's also contradicting yourself.
What you're
to
doing
say
again is
say that-
casting doubt. You're casting doubt. You're saying
you're also
saying light can bend, therefore, because we already assume we live on a ball, bending light is causing you to see a flat Earth.
I'm not talking about a flat Earth. I'm saying like bending light is causing you to see further than you would have.
But where's the curving ground? You're just telling us about light and air, brother. That's fine. We'll give you that. But what about the ground? That's the thing you're supposed to be proving anyway. So why would you discard that and go, well, let's talk about air and light?
What it's a contradiction to say, you're contradicting yourself when you're saying that it looks flat, it measures flat, right? And all that.
What does measure flat mean?
You're saying it's a ball, even though it's
all tests. We always see farther than expected. By the way, all visual tests using lasers, using actual data from like sea level. What? Hold on, that wasn't very good. But
let's hold them accountable.
The way that we use ballistics and the way that we use airplanes and so on and so forth. It's all based off of a non-moving plane. Okay, so now you could argue that it's due to simplification. Like we simplify it that way, but we actually live on this. But all objective reality in all of our observations from objective reality point towards a flat, non-rotating plane.
Anybody, so I'm gonna.
So you have the burden of proof. You have to show us otherwise how the Earth is curving. And if we can't see it, and if we can't detect it, and we can't measure it, that's redundant. But if we can't do this, then it's literally just a figment of your imagination.
Little jobs and just keep doing that because nobody seems to be hiring you.
You understand that?
Yeah.
Very clear.
A lot of money to a lot of people.
You
We
can't
can
accept
use reality
it
as flat, and it works every time.
He's AFK, I'm pretty sure.
it's hard to accept it because the whole world
Now that you're back at
thinks
Glover,
otherwise.
Yeah, he's talking to someone else right now. He's checked out on us.
Getting some coaching from the CIA is helping them out.
Well, they were talking about like getting jobs somewhere, as if that had anything to do with. I think we can all agree the horizon's not physical, but it's like we're just trying to hold you accountable to the things you said, bro. If you're even there, you brought up. Well, there's lots of experiments. Go ahead. Sir.
He's saying that we would have seen the physicality of the horizon that he claims had light not traveled the path that it did. How does he know either of those? How does he know what the physicality is, and how does he know that the light actually traveled the path it would need to for that physicality to be true?
This is your refracted goblins argument all over again.
Yeah, here we go.
But you know these things.
Light bends. Therefore, reality is flat. But that if you were to take a God point of view, you would see it as curved.
So he says.
AI, did you want to get in?
He's saying that a ball, because of the atmosphere, because of the air, that's what makes it look flat.
Shotgun.
That's what he's saying.
Well, we got lots of time to decide.
Right. He's saying it should look like a ball, but it actually looks flat because of the atmosphere, refraction.
And our argument here, by the way, you don't want to walk away from this on your side going, oh, flat earthers think that the earth is flat because it looks flat. That's the most simplistic view of it. We can give you tons of fucking reason, like tons of experiments, like way more than you presented to us with your ISS footage.
So things would be looking a lot better money-wise.
Well, that's
ISS footage is self-debunking. It's not compatible with the radius.
right. That's the thing. You just you better be careful or tread lightly. Like choose your words wisely, because you remember, bro. You said, well, there's lots of things, experiments, and evidence. So then all we have to do is go. Okay, so you said there's lots of evidence. Let's start with one. And you're like, well, Eratosthenes, even though that's not conclusive. So we moved on. Then you brought up the horizon, and you don't seem to be able to get to how it's physical. You can't really make a case of how it's physical. So what are these? What are these tests and experiments and all this evidence?
What's funny is when he said Eratosthenes, he didn't even know how to pronounce it. This was not his argument. That was another. What do we call it? Like machine gun, basically. That was another way for him to derail from his actual point. He had zero substance for his original point, and then went and derailed to Eratosthenes, which he had less understanding about.
Right.
I mean, it's not an easy name to remember, man. I mean, like Eratosthenes.
They don't need to know it anyway.
Even if I heard this guy remember, I couldn't remember for the longest time. I had to look at it and be like, Eratosthenes.
But even if you don't know the name, you should at least know the argument. But it's funny because go ahead, AI.
Well, he presented Eratosthenes as an example of evidence that we offered him that would be positive of a flat Earth that he said would go either way. But nobody presents Eratosthenes as a positive claim that the Earth is flat. It's just to show you that globe claims aren't conclusive.
Yep.
So he didn't even argue that point correctly.
He presented it all on his own. And also knowingly said that it doesn't prove it one way or the other. Without being coached, without being taunted, he did that on his own. That was his derailment.
I just thought it was funny. I played a clip prior to us chatting with him, and shout out to Bra for coming off mute and chatting with us. Respect. I don't know if you're busy or whatever. Maybe you just have a friend, but I'm gonna play the clip one more time just to show the room because we definitely called it. All right, he basically said this to a T without being sleepy.
There's a plethora of reasons actually, and the research really exists, and I'm not going to go into all of it. It is almost 1 a.m. and I do have work in the morning, but the research is out there and Google is free.
I mean, bro almost basically said that to a T. Well, I don't want to get into the specifics, but there's lots of experiments. There's lots.
He wants to make claims and not back them up.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
Why
crazy.
is Google free? Why is Google free though?
It's not fair that we force him to back up his claims. It's not fair. We're a bunch of fucking fascists for asking for proof.
Well, here's a pro tip for you, bro. If you're listening, just stick to things that you do know. Bring up things that you can back up. Don't say things like, "Oh, there's tons of experiments," because then we have to ask you about that. Oh, what are they? Give us one. Then what's another one? But if it's like, don't make that statement if you can't support it. Just a pro tip for anyone out there.
Yeah, you're gonna look like the fool every time you do this. So just a heads up. Every time you come in here and make a claim that you can't back up, you will be the fool. You're not gonna make a fool out of
Towards slavery reparations. If you're gonna make an argument on the show,
Don't just
you
say
can't
Google
sit there
it.
and say Google it and then not stand.
Yeah,
for what,
like fuck that. Yeah, Google it, and she was all condescending. No, fuck you. You want to make an argument? Fucking make the argument.
Tags! What is your profession?
See, old friend, I brought more soldiers than you did.